Hi friends, thank you for joining me today. We are on the topic still of stress on the brain and the body. I've been on this topic for a while now. I think it is a very important concept to be aware of, especially with all of the trauma and turmoil that is going on in 2020. So if you're watching this in current time, I am hoping that this will be a resource for you and offer some quick tips and some of my favorite naturopathic modalities that you can also incorporate for yourself and for your loved ones to just calm the brain, calm the body, and get our prefrontal cortex, which is the executive functioning part of our brain, back in tip-top shape. Because right now it is getting hijacked by our limbic system and by our brain stem and our survival. Right? We have so much coming at us, even in everyday life, before all of the current events were taking place. A lot of people's resiliency quota was down very low. The demands, the amount of information that we're expected to consume on a daily basis is the most it's ever been. So as a result, what ends up happening is that when people become overwhelmed for long periods of time and their brain perceives it as a threat. It doesn't even have to be a real threat. It doesn't have to be a real tiger that's chasing us. It can be the tiger in our mind, right? The deadlines or the different things that are occurring throughout the day that we just feel like we don't have enough time for. So what ends up happening is that our cognitive function suffers, our physical health suffers, and it's a reciprocal interaction. So as our brain perceives the threat, it affects our mental and emotional health and our physical health. And as our physical health and our physical symptoms get heightened, our body becomes more vigilant, more aware. Our nervous system gets more on point. So even smaller stimuluses start to create a more profound effect than, say, maybe if we were more relaxed or there was less coming at us at once, because the body's in survival and it sees these consistent threats as something to be on point for, to keep its guard up. So what I'm hoping is that you can take this into account when you're dealing with yourself, right? So you want to give yourself some compassion and also compassion for others. Because not only is this impacting, like I said, our mood, our emotions, our mental health, and our physical health, but also our behavior and our our social interactions and cognitive function, like I said. So how we're interacting with other people, we're not maybe seeing things from a rational part of our brain. We're maybe firing from emotions. Right? And this is, again, going to perpetuate the cycle of, well, relationships are very connected to our overall health outcomes. It's a social determinant of health. So if we can stop the stress in our path in its tracks with some simple techniques, literally, we can have an impact on our everyday life and on others, and this can create a ripple effect. And so I hope you join me and get the word out, and also show some tolerance and kindness to other people, and also maybe share some of these tools. Okay, so feel free to share the video or share the post or whatever you find helpful, and even maybe comment or write in what you find helpful that I didn't mention or I'm not aware of, and we can learn together. One of the things too I do want to point out is with this video, there is an accompanying post where it goes into more of the nitty-gritty for those who love the science, because I have some docs and some practitioners that do read my blog. If you want to dig deeper into exactly how this reactionary fight or flight response is impacting bodily symptoms in the vagus nerve tone, right? So when our body gets perception of a stress, whether it be physical or emotional, like I said, there's a signal. These afferent nerves signal go to the central nervous system and say danger, and it shuts down our vagal tone. And our vagal tone is responsible for our autonomic nervous system functions, right? Breathing, rest, digestion, and this impacts our physical health, right? So then what will happen is we get a downregulation of our digestive function, our ability to process foods, our ability for our microbiome to make neurotransmitters, because stress impacts the microbiome. And so there's a whole hodgepodge of icky stuff that can happen. That's a basic non-scientific summary. But if you want that, you can go ahead and go to my blog and read more about that, as well as how the impact between the gut and, say, the gut and the brain, right, is related to these nervous system responses, either in the periphery or even through its communication to the central nervous system through the vagus nerve. And this is impacting, again, our cognitive function, our social interactions, our mental health. All right, so you don't necessarily have to understand all those details to know that stress is impacting our brain and our body, and we need to intervene ASAP, because there is a lot going on right now. So, first tip, essential oils. Get yours today. I'm not selling them, but just get some good ones. Make sure they're good quality. And all you do is you open up the bottle and you smell. This does two things. Right? So we're taking a deep breath, which is signaling to our nervous system to calm down. We're getting odorant molecules from the essential oil, which are going to the receptor sites in our brain and throughout our body, modulating the stress effects, making feel-good chemicals, impacting our mood. The sense of smell is a memory association. So if you have it stimulates memory association. So if you have an odor that particularly brings some sort of pleasant memory, that can be helpful. So essential oils, all you do is this. Unscrew the cap and you smell. You can also, if it's, use some carrier oil, place it on your wrist, smell. You can place it in a diffuser and get it throughout the whole house. And it's great because then you don't have to worry about, polluting your air more with toxic chemicals, synthetic smells that are affecting your hormones and making your brain get all upset. So that's a good idea for that. So two things in one, two, not three, two. My fingers aren't working. Two things. So your essential oil and your deep breath. Some very helpful techniques that I use with my clients is emotional freedom technique. This is otherwise known as tapping. So the tapping solution, if you Google that or DuckDuckGo that, you will find some good resources at the Tapping Solution, or EFT Universe actually has some good research on how tapping certain parts of and on the meridian system, which is also correlate to different nervous system points, calms the brain, calms the body, has been clinically shown to decrease cortisol in the stress response. They've used it in PTSD, they've used it for anxiety, a bunch of mental health issues with emotional freedom techniques. So I will usually have my clients combine essential oils with EFT. So it starts off with a setup statement. Even though I'm stressed to the max, I accept myself, I love myself, whatever you want to say, 3 times, and then you go through the tapping points. Another quick tip is just being mindful, like just being aware. I'm stressed right now, and you just feel the body sensations. Okay, my heart's beating faster, I don't think I have enough time, and you sit with it for a minute, and you take a breath. Because now what you're doing is you're training your body that it's not an emergency, and you're training your brain not to respond with an outflow of stress, because you can't relax and deep breathe at the same time you're feeling stressed. Okay, so there's just some tools. I'm going to just cut off there because there is an article where I have 10 holistic health modalities that you can look into, more about mindfulness, meditation, acupuncture, different approaches that some other integrative practitioners might be using that you might want to be aware of that can help deal with this stress bombardment. So I hope that you found this helpful. Remember, we have all of the explanation of why stress is impacting our brain and our body. And my biggest concern is that I know, and a lot of my colleagues know, how to modulate the physical impacts of stress. We know how to, if we're in functional medicine geeks or naturopathic geeks, we know how those biochemical pathways work like the back of our hands, and we know what your lifestyle and how different foods or nourishment or lifestyle practices can nourish you and help those symptoms. But if you are not intervening at stress at the level of the brain, it's just going to be a perpetuating cycle, and it's just going to be constant band-aiding. And you're going to need a lot more supplements and a lot more support than if you would intervene at step one. Okay, so essential oils, deep breath, maybe some EFT, deep breathing, even alone, and mindfulness and some of those other tools that you can find on the resource page that goes with this video. So I hope you found this helpful, and I would love to hear from you. Again, share any of your favorite things. Maybe get it going in a comment stream and people can share back and forth. And I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this, to take it in. And everybody just take a breath. It's going to be okay. Okay? I feel that it is. We're going to get through this. And people are mostly good, so let's be kind and be open and start to use more of that executive, rational part of our brain with a little more compassion, less reactivity, and less division. Okay? Take care.